Hey everyone, a short follow-up to my video about error messages on Color Computer 3 Extended Basic. Turns out there are two more that were not in any of the appendices of the manual. So to take a look at those, you'll see I don't have the multi-pack interface connected. The disk drive controller's in there, but it is not connected. And that's for good reason. So I also am going to cold start this here, just to make sure that there's no sleight of hand evident. So here we go, Extended Color Basic 2.0. So there are two additional errors that are in Extended Color Basic that are not in the appendix areas of the manual. However, one of them does appear elsewhere, so we'll get to that. So what are the two errors? Well, I found them while looking through the Extended Basic Unraveled guide. And you can see them here. They are UF and NE. Now the interesting thing is UF doesn't appear anywhere. So let's take a look at, this is the Color Basic manual, or Extended Color Basic manual for the CoCo 3. And then here on the disk manual, there is no such message. There is NE, however, because NE is generally associated with Disk Basic. And then I even found a Extended Basic disk reference, quick reference guide for the original Color Computer. And you'll see here there is no UF error. NE is there. There's a VF error for verification, but there's no UF. So what does this error mean? Well, as you probably noted on the page of Super Extended Basic Unraveled, Disk Extended Basic Unraveled, the error message is undefined function call. And although the messages are not defined in any of the error lists at the end of any of the quick reference guides or at the end of the actual getting started with Extended Color Basic guides, either for the CoCo 2 or CoCo 3, you will find it listed on a page outlining the user-defined function routines. And so let's look at that. So if I were to try to access a function, a user-defined function called x, and just feed it any number I want, there you go, you get a UF error. And so that means undefined function. So I didn't define the function x with def fn, so when I tried to use the reserved word function and a user-defined function name x, it gave me a UF error. Now the next one, NE, is a little more fun. So if you have a Color Computer 1 or a Color Computer 2 with Extended Basic, you could actually legitimately generate an NE error without a disk drive. And the way that you would do that is with a DLOAD command. So if you were to try and deload a file from another machine via the serial port on a CoCo 1 or 2, that would generate an NE error if you looked for a file that didn't exist. Well, on the CoCo 3, unfortunately, it looks as though DLOAD's functionality has been replaced with the reset vectors. So if I type it with no additional work, I get a clear screen and OK as though I pressed reset. And if I poke 113,0 DLOAD, I get a cold reset. So the DLOAD command doesn't do on this machine what the DLOAD command does on the previous ones, though the token still exists. But it turns out the NE error hook and code still exist, and I can jump to them. There we go. The location of the NE error routine is at hex 8CDD, and that error handler is still there. So despite the fact that I am in, you're going to get the little moire pattern, sorry, despite the fact that I'm in Extended Color Basic with no NE error actually used, I can still generate the error. And as far as I can tell, in the looking I've done so far through the assembly listings, there is no way to generate this error without plugging in a disk drive or jumping directly to it. But wait, there's more. So I'm going to take a little program listing up here that I've typed in. I typed this in with the camera off so you didn't have to watch me do this. And what this is going to do is it's going to go through two different ranges of memory, and it's going to print out the character values for whatever it sees there in each address. So let's give that a run. And so what those are the Disk Basic copyright messages for both of the versions of Disk Basic that existed when the Color Computer 3 was built. Again, there's no disk controller connected here. The machine is not connected to the disk controller or the multi-pack. These are both part of the Color Computer 3's Super Extended Basic patching. And they're interesting also because they're literally hard-coded messages for each of the two major revisions of Disk Basic that existed. The 2.0 version actually has a 1981 copyright, which is interesting in itself because the default Extended Basic copyright on this with no disk and the 2.1 version both use 1982. Obviously the 2.0 version probably dates back to 1981, so that's why they did it. So that was interesting to me, obviously 2.0 being the original version without the DOS command and 2.1 having the DOS command and a few other minor enhancements, but that being the big one. What's interesting again is that these are hard-coded into memory, so if a third version had been released after the Color Computer 3, they would have had to either patch it in the disk ROM or do something else to try and maybe even poke the byte where the 1 would have been to make it a 2 or something in the video memory. I don't know. There's many ways you could do that, hack that in, but they would have to have done something because the Disk Basic messages are hard-coded into the CoCo 3's ROM. And the reason for that is because the copyright messages in the disk controller were before the CoCo 3 was made, so they wouldn't acknowledge microware and wouldn't have a 1986 copyright date for the patched version of Extended Basic. So to prepare for that, Super Extended Basic looks to see if there's a disk controller, and if there is, determines which one it is, and then displays the appropriate Disk Basic copyright string right from its own ROM. So anyway, I thought that was a little bit of additional interesting fun on top of the 2 error messages. I should note that the NE error is kind of orphaned on the CoCo 3. Again, I can't really find a way to generate it legitimately on this without a disk, but on a CoCo 1 or 2 you should be able to legitimately generate an NE error without a disk controller. And UF you should be able to get anywhere you have Extended Basic. You won't find it in original Color Basic because the user-defined functions aren't there, but you can find them in Extended Color Basic on any of the color computers. So if you want to generate a UF error, just access a function that you haven't already defined. Well, that's all for this time. Until next time, thank you for watching.